Alright, this is spreadsheets, comprehensive spreadsheets. So we're looking at BCA-152. So today I did a little bit of work on the whiteboard in terms of covering some terminology and some fundamental things, some really fundamental things in terms of spreadsheets. Alright, so we have a spreadsheet in which we have cells, and in those cells can be one of two things. It can be a label or, let's say, a value. Okay? So I talk about that over here. Either a label or a value. A label is just what it sounds like, some kind of information about a column, a row, a value in the spreadsheet or whatever. These are typically, the labels are typically left justified by default. They don't have to be, but they would be left justified by default. Values are right justified by default. Okay? Which means, you know, a label, if you're looking at a cell, is going to exist over here, and then if we have a cell that has a value in it, that typically would be over here. Right justified, left justified. Okay? Alright, so then I mentioned two really important things. Values can be a constant, like we typed in a specific number, like this one, maybe this value is 14, or the values can be calculated from a formula. Alright, so a number or calculated from a formula. So if you look, and all you see here, let's say, is 28, you don't know by just looking at the cell if that was a formula, the sum of something. You know, up here is 14. You don't know if that happened to be the sum or somebody typed in a value, or maybe there's a label here, sum, you know, that indicates that, or total. Alright, so it's either a number or a formula. We want to, an important point, we want to avoid using constants and formulas. We want to avoid using constants and formulas. What we want to use is a reference to the constant, a reference to it. And those references can be relative or absolute. And we did some examples today to show both of those. All right. A couple formulas we did. Skipped over some easy ones. We did an if formula. So you type equals if. Okay. Here's our function that we're using. Then we have a condition, and that condition will be true or false. And the fundamental way we look at that, we can have here, we can have a cell reference and a cell reference, and it's going to compare them. It's going to see, are they equal? Is it greater than? Is it less than? Greater than or equal to? Less than or equal to? So it could be any of those, and there's some other items here that we'll talk about later on. Alright, so we could say, is B5 less than or equal to C10 or something? Okay? If it's true, it'll do what's here. Now here I listed where, in the example we did today, we had just a cell reference there. But it could be a formula. You could actually perform a formula there. If it's false, you can refer to a cell reference or a formula, have it do some calculations. So we have an example. If B5 is less than or equal to C10, comma, then D4, comma, D5, just as an example. So whatever's in, if this statement is true, then the solution to this, whatever cell it's in, will be what's in B4. If it's false, it'll be what's in B5. If we're going to copy these, this might be a situation maybe where you would use absolute addressing, where when you copy a cell, the location doesn't change. This is just maybe that there would be absolute addressing. In the VLOOKUP, the table is already marked as absolute. All right, so let's just look at this one to finish up. VLOOKUP. We can have a table of values. Okay, so let's say we have some values here, and then matched with each one of those we have some more values that we want to look up. So we're going to look up a value here in the table. Okay, let's say this is our table. And then this column value will tell us which column to grab the value out of. So let's just make up a simple example. Let's say this is 20, and this table is referencing this table here, and we have two columns, 1 and 2. So the column here, let's say, is 2. So we're going to take 20 and we're going to look up in the table until we find 20. Okay, if we don't find 20 and we run into a number bigger than 20, then we're going to stay where we're at. We're not going to go to that one. So let's say this is 30 here, and so we get there, and this was 15. We go by 15, but 30 is too big, so we come back here. This is a 2, second column, so we're going to take whatever values here, and that's going to be result of this entire formula. So it's a VLOOKUP. We are going to do lots of examples of ifs and VLOOKUPs throughout the course, so we'll get really good at both of those. Alright, and the rest of the class we did an in-class example in a spreadsheet. And that's it for now.